Chapter 1. Everyone craves conversations where they are talked with rather than talked to. People fail in their businesses and relationships because they fail to have fierce conversations. A fierce conversation is a real conversation that cuts through the cover to get to the heart of the matter. It is passionate, untamed, and honest talk. Keep in mind that fierce conversations challenge reality, encourage learning, tackle challenges, and produce more prosperous relationships. The most important asset we have as humans are our relationships. We are more emotional than rational. Therefore, our decision-making process is determined by how much emotional capital we possess. The measure of leadership success is the depth of connections we make with people within and outside our organizations. Team members often misunderstand their leaders because they're not having conversations as often as they should. And when others speak, we are absorbed in our interpretation that we often fail to see things from their perspective. Several factors determine the success of any endeavor in our private and professional lives. The first determinant is how courageous we are to interrogate reality. We avoid difficult conversations in the workplace, so we stick to a strategy that isn't working until it bankrupts the entire organization. People in relationships distract themselves with other issues without addressing their real needs until they can no longer pretend. By then, it is often too late. A second factor is understanding that conversations are the lifeblood of any relationship. Are you focused on the facts of a conversation or on establishing a connection? Don't forget, people who establish a human connection with others are more likely to succeed in their dealings. Establishing a human connection involves empathy, transparency, authenticity, and curiosity. It's not pushing your agenda or sugarcoating. A leader's job is to engineer epiphanies through conversations that reveal we are capable of original thought. Susan Scott. This summary explores the what, why, and how of human connection via fierce conversations. The goal is to transform from the old leadership model to the new. The focus will shift from activities to results, using 7 principles of revolutionizing your life and work, one conversation at a time. Did you know the 2002 Nobel Prize for Economics was won by psychologist Daniel Kahneman? Chapter 2. Conversations are the connections between you and your goals. People attach meaning to words that sometimes differ from the speaker's or writer's intended meaning. Misunderstanding words often leads to a breakdown of relationships. But why do we misunderstand others? Filters. Our beliefs, opinions, and attitudes determine how we perceive the world. Thus, each person has a unique context that complicates a conversation. 2 people in a conversation amount to 4 people talking. The 4 are what one person says, what he really wanted to say, what his listener heard, and what he thought he heard. William Jennings Bryan. To improve the quality of our conversations, we must admit that our interpretations are often wrong because we're having internal conversations that rarely involve the other person. How you engage with yourself and others in conversations will determine the effectiveness of the interaction. In organizations, this transformation means going from having employees who are there for the money to those who dial into the company's vision. Instead of avoiding the tough talks, you can tell the truth that brings change to the organization. There are 4 key conversational models to consider regarding the achievement of organizational goals: team conversations, coaching conversations, delegation conversations, and confrontation conversations. Team conversations are necessary for better decision-making. Debates that don't cause friction between team members but clarify goals and challenge the status quo will eventually lead to proper implementation. Coaching conversations center around developing capacity and creating feelings of loyalty in each employee. The goal is to create an atmosphere that encourages change and produces results faster than expected. Delegation conversations seek to improve personal accountability through implementation plans with exact deadlines. They provide a clear path to developing those plans. Confrontation conversations address attitudinal performance or behavioral issues. It involves naming and taming tough challenges. Remember, fierce conversations have 3 elements: moral courage, clear requests, and taking action. You will reach your goals when you can peel off the outer layer that manifests as ordinary talk to reveal the truth that is often unspoken in conversations. But it requires a specific mindset, skill set, way of living and leading, and a strategy that achieves predetermined objectives. The process may seem daunting, but all you need is to have one real conversation at a time and grow from there. Chapter 3. The best laid plans are altered by an ever-changing reality. Times have changed due to several global events, and unpredictability is at an all-time high. Yet, people refuse to admit the reality of change and the changing realities. Terrorism, new technology, and lifestyle changes have characterized the new millennium, and we're less than 3 decades into it. There is no beeline movement in life, and no one can adequately predict what comes next. Remember, the first principle that should guide us along the winding paths of life and business is the need to interrogate reality. Two conversational models, the beach ball approach and the mineral rights, will provide the fierce conversations we need to interrogate reality properly. The beach ball approach applies mainly to organizations, but is also effective in personal relationship settings. It depicts people in a conversation as standing on different colors of a beach ball. The person standing on the red section of the ball will see the entire ball as red, while the person on the blue portion will think the ball is blue, and so on. They will all be correct, while believing everyone else is wrong. Each person must be willing to challenge these assumptions by having fierce conversations. What gets talked about in a company, how it gets talked about, and who gets invited to the conversation determines what will happen and what won't happen. Susan Scott. The beach ball approach requires you to identify an issue, decide who to invite to discuss it, encourage each discussant to share their realities even if they disagree with others, and wrap up the conversation by acknowledging points raised without judgment. The mineral rights approach works best when examining a specific reality. It is like drilling deep into the ground for minerals instead of drilling many different shallow holes. Mineral rights interrogates reality by mining for increased clarity, improved understanding, and impetus for change. Susan Scott. Instead of giving advice, you provoke self-generated insight. Advice will come only after the person has suggested steps to take. Question everything, seek insights from everyone, and create a safe space for spoken truths. Chapter 4. Positive change happens in our lives when we choose to be authentic. Many people hide from their lives and lack the courage to speak the truth about what's really going on with them. The problem with this practice is that it could cost them their lives. In life-threatening situations, many of us summon courage, but we are afraid of revealing ourselves in daily activities. Our desire for acceptance keeps us from telling it as it is. Eventually, organizations go bankrupt and relationships end on a bitter note because of unspoken truths. Keep in mind, radical transparency is vital to solving problems because it allows us to address the cause rather than the symptoms. People often say that doctors are the only ones with whom they're willing to be authentic. You don't lie to your doctor because you know your physical life depends on it. However, when others ask, "How are you?" or "What's wrong?" you say, "Fine," or "Nothing's wrong." At the organizational level, rumors and inaccurate information in the public domain can threaten the life of the company. The way out is by telling the truth and challenging others to do the same. Admit your errors by naming the specific things that were wrong. Present your plan for correcting those mistakes and invite contributions from the other color segments on the beach ball. Keep communication lines open while you remain unnerved. Over time, you will regain people's trust as you encourage them in fierce conversations. Strong leaders know that things will improve only by coming to grips with how bad they are and how they got that way, building a good plan and staying the course, one conversation at a time. Susan Scott. Are there undiscussable issues in your relationship or organization? Find them and bring them to the open. Progress comes from taking on those hard conversations. Our lives will become more attractive when we courageously step out of the shadows into the light. People will respond to the authenticity we found. But taking this step requires breaking away from your habitual self, which can be challenging. Write down how you feel about yourself, your life, and your work. Then write out answers to the following questions. Where am I going? Why am I going there? Who is going with me? How will I get there? Chapter 5. Pay attention to the total message a person is sending and not just the words. Attention is a scarce resource in today's distracted world. Yet without it, we can't have fierce conversations that will generate success. Give your partner your undivided attention at home or work, no matter how much time you can spare to do it. People have an innate need to be understood. And psychologist Jeffrey Bernstein says this need is stronger than the need to be loved. Understanding is impossible without attention. To effect positive change, we need to make people feel seen. However, cynicism and disaffection get in the way. Throughout life, we grow to distrust people and fear getting close to them. But we can overcome this challenge by transforming how we speak, ask, and listen to others. Being present in conversations and asking fierce questions make a world of difference. When you ask questions, ensure you are listening with an open mind, as this will help you take the pulse of the relationship. Do not avoid or postpone conversations. They are vital to the success and happiness of everyone involved. And these conversations do not have to be about complaints. Have conversations about how important someone is to you or your organization. It is one of the fiercest conversations we can ever have. Listening with your eyes and ears encourages others to have fierce conversations with you. Content, emotion, and intent are things to listen for when having a fierce conversation. This form of listening brings clarity and reveals character. A secret rule to getting the best out of conversations is to ask questions rather than fall into the temptation of sharing what you know. Questions to ask when having a fierce conversation are: what should we prioritize in this discussion? How does this topic relate to the overall relationship? In what ways are you or anyone else affected by this issue? What are the implications of not addressing this matter? What part did you play in creating this situation? What difference will resolving this issue make? What are you going to do to resolve this issue? Make sure you come to the conversation without a prepared response. Do not criticize or pick holes in the answers to the questions you've raised. Chapter 6. Face-to-face daily feedback is crucial to growing your business and personal relationships. Have the courage to take on behavioral, performance, or attitudinal issues impeding the progress of your relationship or organization. Without feedback, you may be solving the same problem over and over again. This repetitive process is what causes burnout. Remember, change is not instantaneous, but it begins with a fierce conversation and consistent follow-up conversations to provide support for it. Skillfully avoiding direct conversations about attitude, behavior, and poor performance ruins relationships and businesses. Most people triangulate instead. Triangulation is when person A talks with person B about person C's behavior so that they can mutually loathe person C. Avoiding confrontation is a zero-sum game because the reasons for the avoidance eventually become real in the long run. There is a practical guarantee that the outcomes we fear will show up. The way out is to reconstruct the context you create around confrontation. Instead of conceiving confrontation as a fight, see it as a conversation about a problem. To confront is to be with someone in front of something. Creating a regular feedback loop can help you normalize confrontation without being controversial. It usually comes as a rude shock when a person gets the sack. This shock is avoidable if the organization implements daily feedback. Instead of anonymous performance reviews, create face-to-face conversations that help employees focus on growth and development. It is even better when the employees lead the discussion. Let them decide the agenda, schedule the meeting, and lead the conversation. During these feedback meetings, get the employees to ask at least 2 questions that help them grow. It could be, which of my roles is most instrumental to the success of the department or company? Where should my focus be directed or redirected? When do you need me to showcase my expertise? What are the ways we can complement each other? What value do I contribute to colleagues and customers? When do you see me at my best? Feedback takes an employee up the accountability ladder. They move from being unaware to blaming others, to giving excuses, to waiting and hoping, to acknowledging reality, to owning that reality, to seeking solutions, and finally, to implementing solutions and growing from their mistakes. Conclusion. Being dedicated to having fierce conversations in your life and work is challenging, yet it is a laudable goal. To make it easy, seek real people already having fierce conversations. You learn best by doing. So apply these principles by examining your reality, opening yourself up to learning, tackling tough challenges, and enriching your intrapersonal relationships. Listen to good music, read books, take walks, immerse yourself in the adventure of life by courageously stepping out of the shadows. Perfect humans, if they exist, are uninteresting. Follow your instincts and lean into your emotions as they wake you to a new reality, a new possibility. The 7 principles that help you to embrace fierce conversations are: develop the courage to interrogate reality using the beach ball and mineral rights approaches. Peel off the outer layer of expected responses to get to the real version of yourself. Learn to pay attention to the total person instead of interpreting messages based on your context. Tackle the toughest challenges instead of avoiding them because they will eventually determine your success or failure. Be guided by your instincts to discover the truth. You are responsible for your life, so you must become emotionally alive to live it fully. Appreciate solitude. It is in silence that you can have fierce conversations with yourself. You must stop being worried about what others might think and consistently embrace authenticity with everyone in your life. Try this. Have one-on-one conversations that are fierce. You must do it virtually. Ensure you can see each other. Pick a person in a professional relationship area where fierce conversations are needed. Start the conversations with any one of the following questions. What is the most important thing we need to discuss? Is there a topic you don't want to discuss? What do we believe is impossible to do but is capable of bringing phenomenal success? How can we get it done? What are our values? Are we living these values? What are we pretending not to know in our organization?